with, artist, and he falls in love, and then he kind of leaves her because I guess he feels like, her family is not accepting towards him, but then it results in her taking her own life, and he's not fully coping with that well. Am I on the right track?
I think so. When I usually hear of the story of Dorian Gray, which that's one of my favorite stories, or favorite characters that come out of like horror London era in the 1800s type of genre that we're talking about. I usually get involved with the Dorian Gray character post all that, so post his mortal life. So when he comes into a scene or a story, he's already immortal, and it's usually involved with some sort of painting because, like you said, you have the background involving the painting. He is enchanted somehow by this painting, and the painting either allows him to live immortally and take away any of his immortality, like scars or injuries or anything, sickness. The painting can take that and provide it to the painting versus his human body. Or he's not allowed to look at the painting and it does the same thing, but he can never see it. So there's everybody takes a good character and changes it the way they want. Like, in this version he does this, in this version he does that. But it always involves him and his portrait and his conflict of the portrait. Like, this is who he is, and person is always different than how his portrait is portrayed. And it's almost like he's fake or there's just something off about him. But he always comes off as this classy, ritzy, very put together character. And I mean, depending on where you see him, a newer series called Penny Dreadful has him as a very open, thespian type of character that is very androgynous. So he can go one way, he can go the other. He'll be with men, he'll be with women. He doesn't care. He just is very, very open to everything. But that's just him. Like, he can do what he wants. He's immortal and he gets bored, so he wants to do anything and everything. And it just seems like a very frivolous, fun being to portray, but he's also very dark because he doesn't really value life because he's immortal. So he's like, well, I could kill this person and it's a little more fun. And like, they've bored me. I think I'll kill them now or something like that. Or it's just, he's a character that is immortal and has almost no morals, so I mean, that's never probably a good combo.
So kind of like some of the superheroes that have come out, especially out on Netflix, like, we were talking about this a few weeks ago, Jessica Jones, who she has all these powers, she could be using it for good, but she seems like she's kind of more using it for her own benefit, for her own deal. It seems like Dorian Gray is kind of in that same realm, and I think I kind of noticed that a little bit during my reading of the plot, but it also goes back to the fact that he really did love this girl. If I can pull up the name, I think I can pull that. Okay.
Oh yeah, the guy is Thorn for sure.
Let's see here. I'm trying to remember trying to remember the name of what was her. Jeez Louise. Yeah, I'm trying to remember the name of the woman that he was really. Was it Dorian Gray? Sybil who? But I guess Sybil Vane. Okay, so that explains a little bit more. Yeah, apparently Dorian Gray was also kind of considered like as this Prince Charming kind of guy, and just knows how to swoon people over and get them over. Like you said, whether it be a guy or girl, doesn't matter. But really does kind of show that, he can be a nice guy, but at the same time, when he's doing it for his own kind of selfish deeds, it kind of does show a little bit of the backstory behind him. But what was interesting was that I kind of read a little more into this sibling and Dorian story. I guess what had happened, like I said, was that they were both in love, but I think it was either her father and her brother just were not approving, and he kind of noticed that, so he kind of used the reasoning that, well, she was an actress, coincidentally enough, and when she did horrible at a production, he used that as a kind of a way to just say that, I thought that your acting was beautiful, and that was about it. And apparently, I guess going a little deeper in, after the rejection, notices the portrait had changed and that his wish had come true, and the man in the portrait bears a suitable sneer of cruelty. Oh, well, ain't that kind of interesting? And apparently Sybil was so depressed that she kills herself by swallowing, I think it's prussic acid, I believe it is. For those of you that can correct me, please do. Prussic. Geez Louise. For somebody to, that you care about so much to just go and do that for reasons, I guess, does kind of seem a little bit off. And then you kind of see where
Romeo Juliet.
Yeah, except for the fact that Romeo survives and Juliet just died.
Yeah.
It's a horrible thing. But all honesty, I think that if I read the book a little more, I probably would have a little more idea of what goes on. I think you did a good job of explaining it, so I thank you for that. I would definitely recommend, Dorian Gray, if you guys ever get a chance to check it out on Penny Dreadful. There's actually also a Dorian Gray movie. I don't know if that's going to be as...
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Have you seen that movie? I think it came out in like 2009 or something like that.
I think I've overseen it a little bit. I don't think I finished it to the end. I did on my Facebook. I did post a picture from the movie saying that was my favorite old time London horror. But the reason Dorian Gray is my favorite is, like I said before, the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen has Dorian Gray, and the Dorian Gray persona in Penny Dreadful was also one of my favorite characters. So that's why I enjoyed him more versus his own movie. But I bet the movie, I don't think it has that much of a following, but we all know that doesn't mean it's not a good movie. So
right.
I want to check it out. I hope you guys want to check it out too.
We'll definitely have to I'll definitely have to take a look into that a little bit more, maybe look a little more into Penny Dreadful. But first, I still got to get by Stranger Things. Thank you, by the way. I still have to finish that up. But then...
speaking of Facebook, though, I did ask people on Facebook, and I mean, right now I've just started to do that, and I'd love more people to interact, but I have two people who chose some characters they like. Do you want to know what the two people have chosen?
I would be very interested. Go on.
Which I think you'd be very interested because we're talking about them. Yay! The first one was Rosalita. She's from Orlando, and she picked Dr. Jekyll, and her comment was, Hulk who? Original, don't make me angry, OG. So that was hilarious. As we talked about in the last episode, we definitely added the same type of, hashtags like, well, this is the original Hulk character, so Rosalita, you're awesome. And definitely gave her props, saying, like, multiple personalities, you gotta love them.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
But, and then the other person was Ollie Macaroni from Edwardsville, Illinois area. Jack the Ripper was her favorite. And we are going to talk about Jackie Jack as well.
Oh, gosh, yeah. We're going to transition right into that right now. I had to...
That would be a good transition.
It's a very good transition. Oh, my gosh. So, Jack the Ripper, best known by the given name given to him as an unidentified serial killer, generally believed to have been active in the largely improvised area in around the White Castle district of London in 1888. I had to look at so many of these different cases and so many different theories, the suspects, who could have possibly been Jack the Ripper, and still to this day, nobody really knows who was Jack the Ripper. All we know is that he had a thing for women, there were a lot of times where he would actually slice their throats as well as take parts of their body out of them. There were a couple cases where they said that there were like kidneys missing, there was a heart missing, organs missing. So somebody actually mentioned the idea that obviously this person had to have been a doctor, which definitely does raise the question, you know, can you trust doctors anymore? No, I'm kidding. All respect to doctors everywhere. This is one of those things that happened, you know, over hundreds of years ago, so you're totally fine by my book. And I have to go see one tomorrow for my root canal, so I'm hoping that they're not listening to this episode where it's like, oh boy, I'm in for a fun time, aren't I? Yep, pretty much. So, oh my gosh, I had a hard time getting through this because I guess when they really got into the details, there were times where I had to actually look away and kind of just think, okay, I need a moment just to kind of breathe. I need a moment just to kind of compose myself, because this is just crazy how so many murder cases happen around this Whitechapel area. I guess they said it was about 11 brutal killings, but the most notable were these women. I'm still trying to figure out how to say the name. I think it's a canonical 5, because they happened between the 31st of August and the 9th of November. All of which witnesses said that, you know, he was kind of some were saying that he was rugged, some were saying he was kind of mussy, some people were saying that he looked clean, some people say he looked dirty. But just looking at everything with Jack the Ripper just goes to show again that England just knows how to really captivate the imagination. And I mean, last year for a wrestling event, a wrestler came out with kind of like a Jack the Ripper attire. He had like the jacket, he had the top hat, he looked almost exactly like him, and automatically I thought to myself, oh wow, this is kind of cool in a way, but at the same time, it still feels like it's a little bit of a controversial figure. I mean, geez Louise, just looking at all these victims' names, how they were basically either assaulted or they were basically murdered, I should say that. It's just insane.
How many people, do you know how many people he actually killed, or how many women? I know he just killed women, right?
Yeah, and I honestly thought it was maybe just, I thought it was maybe there was like a pattern there. Maybe it was just like, you know, maybe it was like prostitutes or something like that, but no, it just said, see here, it said, event of 11 brutal killings in Whitechapel up to 1891, so it seems like so far about 11 confirmed. Yeah, it looks like about 11 cases of this. So that's insane. And there's even a map right here. I'll see if maybe I can upload it as our picture. You look at how close that these murders. Well, actually, this is the first 7. How close they were to each other. There were 2 that are like very close together, and there's one like to the east, one to the north, one a little more further north, and then south, and then west. But it's just amazing how close they were to each other, and the fact that, you know, nobody. I don't know if I would say that nobody really took it seriously. I guess it's one of those situations where it's like, oh, this couldn't happen to me, and then, lo and behold, some guy by the name of Jack decides, yep, it's happening to you. So, oh my gosh.
I mean, I guess in the time range too. I know now, like, sadly, serial killers murder. I'm not gonna say I know the averages, but I feel like 11 doesn't sound as bad, which I know that almost sounds awful for me to say, but
right.
I feel like Jack the Ripper's reputation, I would feel like it'd be, well, like hundreds of girls and yada yada, and that's why everybody knows him as Jack the Ripper. And he's crazy, tore his victims apart, and there were prostitutes and women and all these negative things, like, oh, he's so crazy. But when I hear 11, I'm almost like, oh, that's it. And then you got to think about the time that he did this, and it was like all within a short span, and he never got caught. and